The whole of it flows from that single line, make the care of the patient your first concern. But it is a lifelong journey to understand what that means.
I don't meet many people who, I believe, came into medicine wanting to be dishonest or wanting to cut corners or wanting to not do the right thing. I think for all sorts of reasons, things happen, sometimes in people's personal lives, sometimes in people's professional lives. And we need to be much more able to talk about that. You can't be hero or zero. You can't be virtuous or not, because we're not like that. And I think we all need to understand there'll be some things we're much better at than others.
Whether these things can be taught, of course they can be taught. We've all learned them for a start. You know, and it started way before we were students. My only contribution to this would be, I'm very wary of training. We've got to go on training. We've got to go to do some training, because often the motivation for training, it seems to me these days, in all sorts of walks of life, is not to actually train people. It's to tick boxes that people have been trained.
Students need to have the resilience to withstand poor role models. And I think that's a really, really key thing, is that we need to enable young people to see the difference between someone who is a good role model and someone who is a poor role model, and to have the confidence to reject the poor role model.
I'm not entirely sure that it's settled what the values and virtues of the profession are, and I think that then becomes quite difficult to try and teach or to help people to learn that. But also I think sometimes we divorce it too much from behaviour. So Deborah, you mentioned virtuous behaviour, and I think that it might be a different way of approaching it, to focus more on the behaviours as the things that you can change, and then help people to learn the values and the virtues and reflect on that behind it. Because the behaviour is the thing that is going to count.
One of the things I really believe is that you can rehearse and practice speaking out in the same way you can rehearse and practice cannulation and taking a blood pressure and all those other clinical skills. I think there are practical things, actually really practical things, which I'm sure many of you know better than me, but keeping a factual diary, not putting all your distress into a letter, but making it very factual and very evidence-based, raising it appropriately, telling people how they're making you feel.
Richard Smith went to do the inaugural lecture at Hull York Medical School, and one of the things he said was, always remember it's much worse to be on the cold end of the stethoscope